Captain America, and I'm here to tell you, stay in school, and that if there's one thing you're going to learn from this class, it's to endure silliness.
Well, hello, folks. Let's make sure I'm getting audio. Yeah. Looks like you can see me. Looks like you can hear me. Looks like we've got closed captioning all set. So, good deal. Welcome. Tuesday morning, right? Tuesday. Oh, gosh. Not Thursday or Friday yet. Tuesday. But that's all right. Got a good week in front of us. I hope you have a good week in front of you. Hey, today's lecture, I'm going to have to apologize ahead of time. It's a long-ass lecture. This is long. We are actually covering 2 modules today. That's kind of the nature of a summer term. We end up having to shove 16 weeks into 12 weeks. And as a result, every once in a while, we have to double up. And that's what we're going to do. Nevertheless, I commit to you, I am going to do my best to try to make this interesting. We have some activities. We have a few things to do that'll make it fun. And hey, we'll earn some points along the way, right? Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get set up. All right, so today we're talking about business and its relationship with religion, okay? Now, here's the thing. What we're going to see today, now remember, not a history class, not a history class. Everything we talk about today, we see today, right? So just because we're talking about history doesn't mean that we're not seeing the same stuff today. What we are going to see is business doing really, really well. And this makes religion at the time a little nervous because back in the day, religion kind of like held all power, right? Whatever it was, church, synagogue, mosque, temple, it doesn't matter. Church kind of ran the world. Religion ran the world, I should say. And so as business is becoming, well, more and more a staple of everybody's life and really delivering what people need, religion gets nervous. And yet we are going to see where religion then comes around and business becomes a religion, and we're going to see the effects of that. So we have a lot to go over today. Let's go ahead and start playing with these. So here's going to be our agenda. Like I say, we're covering 2 modules, which means 4 readings. That should be illegal. I apologize. First, we're going to talk about the power of business and how it begins to dominate everyday life, daily life. Then we're going to talk about how religion responds to this increased influence that business has. And this is still going on today. You're going to see. Then we're going to see how business becomes an expression of religion. Business today is an expression of religion in many ways. And then finally, business ushering in an entirely new economic and social revolution. So we're covering quite a bit. Let's get into it. So first, business begins to dominate our daily lives. What we're going to be talking about here is the Vikings, as through the lens of Veblen, Thorstein Veblen. Now, I call it actually Amazon.com Viking style, okay? We are going to see how the Vikings developed their power and their influence and their business. And I've got news for you. It looks exactly like Amazon. You know, Amazon is new, it's modern, it's hip, it's growing, it's powerful, so on and so forth. But they didn't invent anything. Amazon didn't invent anything. The Vikings did. And we're going to see that come into play here. And we're going to read from the reading a lot. So, frankly, for those of you who don't like to do the reading, just hang out with me. We're going to go over the key points. All right? We take care of you here. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. The early combinations, don't worry, we'll translate all this, right? Early combinations were relatively small and transient. They took the form of gentlemen's agreements, pools, working arrangements, division of territory, etc., rather than hard and fast syndicates. Okay, what does this mean? Well, everybody's kind of participating in business as the Vikings are traveling around the world. Now, you know about the Vikings. They're actually kind of hip these days. The one thing about the Vikings that that we know about today because of all these cool shows and movies and so on and so forth, that is actually true is they traveled. Those long ships of the Vikings went all over the place. And as they did so, they really developed a complex network of international trade, pan-European trade, right? And as they're developing this network of trade and so forth, they're setting up partnerships with other little traders in the area, right? So they go to this one area and they engage in some trade. They go over here and this place kind of provides stuff for their ships. And they go over here and this place kind of gives some stuff for their armaments and protection and so forth. And all of these combinations are basically just partnerships, agreements, right? They are just ad hoc. They're casual. They are not hard and fast, like it says here at the beginning. They're just kind of casual. Now, we're going to be talking about syndicates. For the purpose of this lecture, a syndicate is when organizations work together to conduct some type of business in order to pursue and promote their collective interests. Now, today, syndicate means much more than that. Many times we're talking illegal syndicates and so forth. So we're talking drug cartels or oil monopolies such as OPEC and so forth. These are syndicates. But what I really want you to understand here is that we're starting to get people working together, each because of division of labor, which we talked about last week. Each group is kind of contributing their value to the overall effort of making money. That's the syndicate. Okay, so now check this out. In the early days, a combine, an agreement, would be formed for a season between two or more capitalist undertakers, for the most part employing their own capital only. Well, now I have a picture right up here. Here's a picture from the website for Amazon Flex drivers. Just as in you can drive for Uber, you can drive for Amazon. And this is especially a big deal during their seasonal peaks, such as around Christmas and so forth. So if you want some extra cash and you have a car, you can go ahead and drive for Amazon, just like driving for Uber. Now, check this out. This is exactly what was happening with the Vikings and so forth. Early day in the combine, the agreements would be formed for a season, say like around Christmas, between two or more capitalist undertakers. We got Amazon and yourself, for the most part employing their own capital only, using your own car, your own money to buy the gas, and they'll pay you. This is an example of what the Vikings were doing then happening today. Okay, so let's continue on. Veblen goes on to say, syndication of an increasingly close texture and increasingly permanent effect appears to have rapidly grown in favor through the 9th and 10th centuries. The reasons for this movement of coalition are plain. The volume of trade, as well as its territorial expansion, increased uninterruptedly. Boy, who knows what that looks like in the closed captions. All right, what does that mean? Well, these little syndicates that they have set up with, informal agreements between drivers or producers or craftsmen and so forth, that's fine at the beginning, but business grows. And after a while, you need to actually kind of set up some permanent agreements, some permanent contracts by which you can ensure that your goods and services are getting around and that you can get what you need and so on and so forth. So, for example, in the case of Amazon, by the way, those Amazon trucks you see, those aren't driven by Amazon employees. Those are contract employees. Okay. Same goes for a lot of the FedEx ground stuff. They're not even FedEx. They are contract employees. But Amazon will contract with drivers, with Amazon Prime, with UPS, with FedEx, with USPS here in the United States to provide for them that last mile distribution. And this is an example of setting up more permanent coalitions because the companies are expanding. So the Vikings are doing this. They're setting up agreements in all these little port towns and so forth, by which when they pull in, there are other businesses in place to help in the final mile, if you will, of distribution. By the way, last mile, if you've ever heard the term last mile tends to be the most expensive aspect of distribution. It's getting it from, say, a warehouse to your front door, because you've got one person delivering one thing. That's expensive. We'll talk about that in a future lecture. Okay. Now, it talks about the quasi-voluntary coalition of forces known as a trust. Okay. Now, the name of this reading is Early Experiments in Trusts. Once again, the way we use a trust today is a little bit different than the way that they're using it here. But let's understand what we're talking about with a trust. A trust is a business organization, a group of businessmen, business people, or traders organized for a mutual benefit to produce and distribute specific commodities or services, all managed by a central body of trustees. Okay, now this is where a trust is different than, say, just a corporation doing business with other B2B businesses, business to business. A trust is when everything is controlled by a central body. And that isn't really done in business today. It's more done in, say, like, endowments and retirements and things like that. Now, notice it says quasi-voluntary. Quasi-voluntary meaning not everybody had a choice on whether or not they participate in this trust with the Vikings. Oftentimes the Vikings said, you will participate. You don't really have a choice. Well, we still see quasi-voluntary activities going on in business and international business today. If you take my international business class, we go far more into that. But yeah, we don't always have a choice on whether or not we're participating in these business ventures. So just to time out for a moment, remember, we're talking about how business is becoming more and more a part of our daily lives. And they're becoming inextricably linked, all of our business interests. It's no longer this person, or this community, and so on and so forth. We are now all having to work together, and pretty much all of our waking lives is dedicated toward making this large business interest work. So, yeah, people are actually thinking and participating in business far more than, say, religion, which we're going to come to here in a moment. Okay, continuing on. Now, one of we've got a few things, a few definitions that the Vikings kind of brought about and so forth that we use today and we really want to understand. So one of the things Veblen says is, for a business venture to get off the ground, a relatively large initial investment must be sunk. And the period of turnover, period of production, is necessary for some duration. The risk is also considerable. Now, let's define these things, okay? Let's talk about an initial investment. Initial investment is, okay, what are all the things you need to buy and invest in and procure and secure in order to get a business venture off the ground? All right. Now, in the case of Kyla, right? No, Kiara. Sorry, Kiara. I have a niece named Kyla, so I was getting mixed up. Kiara has a business, right? And she makes packaging and so forth. Really cool stuff. We'll talk more about that later on. But she has to put in place a certain initial investment. She has to buy the materials. She has to buy the cutters, probably a Cricut cutter or something like that. She has to invest in the software. She has to invest in the market, so on and so forth. Me, I do Nutshell Brainery, this thing here. So I have surrounded a whole bunch of monitors, computers, cameras, so on and so forth. This is my initial investment. Okay. Sunk cost means a cost that has already been incurred and which cannot be recovered to any significant degree if the business venture fails. Okay, so in this studio that I'm in right now, I have invested probably, $20,000. I'm not kidding. I've probably invested $20,000 and maybe, 5,000 hours of time and I don't know what, right? But I built all this. If I just say, screw it, I'm not doing Nutshell Brainery anymore, I've still spent the money. The money's gone. It's a sunk cost. Yeah, I could probably sell some of the stuff in here, but pennies on the dollar, right? And so once an investment is made, that initial investment, it's pretty much gone. So success is the only way that you're going to get it back. However, you're not going to get success right away. We have period of turnover or period of production. So the amount of money taken as sales transacted in a calendar year, or the frequency with which stock is replaced after being used or sold, this is your period of turnover. So for example, let's say that we are setting up a Christmas tree farm, all right? Kiana, by the way, business cards, time and energy, absolutely, right? It's the little things that matter. Isn't that the truth, right? Oh my gosh. So let's say we're setting up a Christmas tree farm. All right. Just so you know, it takes about 5 to 7 years for a tree to grow to where it is Christmas tree ready. So we buy all the land, initial investment, sunk cost, although you could resell the land, but we get all the land, initial investment. Then we plant everything. All right. Now, if everything dies in a disease or weather and so forth, that's a sunk cost. We're not getting that money back. Okay. By the way, I should be giving you guys some of these. I apologize. Okay. Then we got to let the trees grow, but we're not going to plant the whole area because we don't want to just sell Christmas trees once every 7 years. So we are going to plant the area we're going to divide our land into 7 lots, and we will plant, seeds or saplings or whatever once every 7 years, so that after 7 years, we have lots that we can sell. We have trees we can sell each year. Now, this takes a lot of time, a lot of investment, a lot of care to manage all this and so forth. And there's always risk involved. So that's what we mean by period of turnover and so forth, right? You can rent Christmas trees now? Oh my gosh, that's interesting. So just so you know, and I'll give you one more because I got to catch up. I was always like, I will never buy a plastic tree. I will never buy a plastic tree. But a few years ago, I finally said, you know what? I'm going to get a plastic tree. Best decision I ever made. I feel bad, but it's like, no, it works well that way. Okay, so the Vikings are going through all this. All right, so now I want to do a one for one example of what Amazon is doing and what the Vikings are doing. Okay, so check this out. This is from the reading. Let's see. I'm from Africa. And it's the appeal of a tree. Oh, interesting. Oh, and Ghost Rider just got us our first points. There we go. Gotta like the points. Okay. All right. So check this out. I'm going to read this from the reading, but then we're going to do a one for one, and we're going to get a lot of points here for this, a lot of little light bulbs of Amazon and the Vikings. So for a business venture to be successful, a certain technological prerequisites must be met in the way particularly of shipbuilding, navigation, manufacture of weapons, an adequate accumulation of capital goods must be had. Coupled with a sagacious spirit of adventure, there also must be available a supply of labor. Okay? Now, check this out, Chris. I get it. Traditions. Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, we're going to talk about traditions, man, right? Zara and Ghost Rider. In future lecture, we're going to talk about how traditions and business and all this come together. It's what makes business like a religion. Anyway, back to this. I like this stuff, so it's hard for me to stay on it. Okay, certain technological prerequisites must be met, in particular in the way of shipbuilding. Okay, the Vikings delivered everything on ships. Amazon delivers everything by airplane. These are the technological prerequisites that must be met. Navigation. The Vikings navigated by the stars. Amazon navigates by GPS. Manufacture of weapons. Now, you might think, well, there's no allegory here. No, there is. So the Vikings had to bring their own security with them. Okay, that's why they had all the swords and shields and stuff, right? They brought their security with them. Now, Amazon does not necessarily need to bring its security with it. It has the rule of law. It does business in countries that, for the most part, have been successful in establishing the rule of law, and therefore their airplanes and so on and so forth are protected. Now, shipping, there's still pirates out there, right? Shipping, pirates, and so on and so forth. They don't carry weapons with them, by the way, these ships. They carry great big, huge fire hoses. They'll spray the pirates with fire hoses to try to keep them at bay until they can get help. But yeah, security matters for both groups. Adequate accumulation of capital must be had. Now, Amazon, folks, Amazon did not make money its first 15 years of business. Most companies don't make money, okay, at the beginning. Their adequate supply of capital comes from investors. Now, with the Vikings, they had investors as well. Investing goes way back. Coupled with a sagacious spirit of adventure. Today, we call that being an entrepreneur. Sagacious means wise. A sage is wise, sagacious. Wise spirit of adventure, meaning risk-taking, but not crazy risk-taking. We call it informed risk-taking. That's entrepreneurial spirit. There also must be an available supply of labor. Yeah, we need workers, right? So check this out. Amazon and the Vikings are looking at exactly the same prerequisites and challenges in order to set up this transnational conglomerate. Okay? So, yeah, same thing. Now, and I'm going to take care, again, I'm taking care of you on all of these things. You don't have to refer to the reading too much so long as you have this video available. But we're going to talk about two folks. We're going to talk about Palnatoke and Sigvaldi. Palnatoke set up this awesome corporation and Sigvaldi killed it. And yet the reason, the conditions that brought about the creation of a corporation are the same today. And the things that killed it are the same today. All right, so let's read about Palnatoke for a moment. And this thing reads like a gushing, accolade from a fan or something. Check this out. As may often happen when the irksomeness of this competitive situation was fast becoming intolerable, there arose a man of far-seeing sagacity and settled principles, of executive ability and business-like integrity, who saw the needs of the hour and the available remedy, and who saw at the same glance his own opportunity of gain. A man of mature experience with a large investment in the traffic and with a body of goodwill that gave him perhaps the most decisive advantage. What? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's break this down. What they're basically saying, by the way, he was a pirate. Back then, piracy was a big deal. That was actually a state-sanctioned form of commerce. So don't think Jack Sparrow and Bluebeard. Think more like commerce. Anyway, so let's break this down. It's basically all these different groups were spending so much time and energy and resources just fighting and protecting what they had. So instead of taking their time, money, and resources and putting it into business, they had to take everything they had and put it into war, right? Which is no good. So Palnatoke looked around and said, oh, wow, there's an opportunity here. Not only an opportunity for us to do business a little smarter, but an opportunity for me to get rich, right? And, mature experience, meaning he's experienced. He already had a lot invested in it. And he had, goodwill. He had a good reputation with everybody and so forth. This is an entrepreneur. Now, I think I mentioned in a previous lecture, I have a video on Nutshell Brainery around what is an entrepreneur. And you're welcome to take a look at that. But an entrepreneur is somebody who sees a problem, sees an unmet need in the market, and has an idea to meet that need in the market and knows how to monetize that idea. That is the key element. Lots of people can see problems. A lot of people can see solutions to those problems. But to figure out how to commoditize that, to make money doing it, that's the real key, okay? And that's what Palnatoke is doing here. So pretty cool. Together with ships and other equipment of such, Vikings were admitted to the fellowship. Its intangible assets were franchised and the goodwill of the promoter and the underlying companies. Its bylaws, gotta change that, were very strict, both as to the discipline of the personnel as well as the distribution of earnings. And so that's all just saying people joined in. It was centrally controlled. There were rules and bylaws that you followed, and if you followed them, you were in. If you didn't follow them, you were out. It was strict. Everything had a system and a practice in place. So a corporation. All right. Success. The neutral International Corporation of Piracy rapidly won a great prestige. In the modern phase, its intangible assets grew rather larger, backed by the competitive pressure which the new corporation was able to bring upon the small companies and syndicates. Its prestige brought on a steady application of admission to the trust. Key takeaway there, they were so big everybody wanted to be a part of them. So now think about Amazon. All right, I sent you a link for the juggling balls. We're going to do juggling later here. Lots of people, you can put stuff on Amazon. You can sell things on Amazon. I have a store. I have nutshellbrainery.store. I don't put the things on Amazon yet. I have my own store, but people love to be on Amazon, because then everybody can find their products. And that's what my juggling friend does through Amazon. Walmart, same sort of thing. People want to be in Walmart. Not always. We'll talk about that future lecture. But the point is, once you're so big and you're the go-to place, everybody wants to play ball with you. Okay. But then Sigvaldi screwed it up. How? Well, the trust, moreover, the organization, being supreme within its field, the discipline grew lax and its extractions grew arbitrary, sometimes going to unprovoked excess. As one might say, too little thought was given to the economies of production, and the changes were pushed beyond what the traffic would bear. Okay, I'm telling you, this is how modern companies fail. Kiana, A to Z. I'm a regular Amazon shopper. You know what? I'm afraid I am too. I'm on Amazon all the time. Okay, so check this out. Why did the company fail under Sigvaldi? Okay. Being supreme within its field, the discipline grew lax. So if you're so big, too big to fail, you get lazy because you have so much money and so much business. You don't really need to be disciplined, is the thought, right? They're wrong. But as it said, and they grew beyond what traffic would bear, meaning they grew too big, they couldn't support themselves, they were lax in their spending, they weren't thinking about the economies of production, they weren't thinking about how are we going to make money off of this and so forth, and fell apart. This happens all the time. All the time. It's kind of extraordinary to me. There's no secret to business, folks. How businesses are successful was figured out centuries ago. How businesses fail was figured out that way, centuries ago. And yet we rediscover it every day. It's not hard. Okay. All right. Let's continue on. All right. We are going to take a moment and play our favorite game show. We are going to get together and play What's in the Box. All right. So here's the box today. Oh, did I push it twice? No, there it is. Okay. Here's the box. We just talked about early global trade, okay? I have in here a early trade map. So there it is. But it's not on paper. It's not on something that you would think. It is on an article of clothing. What article of clothing would you have a trade map on just for show? So that's what's in the box. What do you think is in the box? Let's come on over here. Hold that down for just a sec. Tag, a t-shirt. Actually, I really wish I do have a shirt with a map on it. So, Anna, that's not the answer. It wouldn't fit in the box, but I do have a shirt with a trade map on it. So a belt? Okay, belt goes around the waist. This goes around something else. It is long and goes around something else, not the waist. Now, what is long? A piece of fabric that goes around not your waist, but something else. Scarf, headband, I'm going to give it to the scarf. It is a tie. Okay, it's a tie, which is kind of a scarf, right? I used to wear ties back when I had to wear ties, but I don't have to wear ties, so I don't wear ties because I don't like wearing ties. But I have a ton. I have a ton of really cool ties, and this is one of my favorites. And yeah, and they're nice, they're cool. I like that. I like them, and I like this, and so I have a whole collection of kick-ass ties that, with any luck, I'll never ever have to wear again. So there you go, a piano tie. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? Okay, so I got lots and lots and lots of replies there. So, of course, we're going to get our next.
Hi, I'm Captain America, and I'm here to tell you, stay in school, and that if there's one thing you're going to learn from this class, it's to endure silliness.
That's right. And we'll bring it right up here, and we're going to get our next one because I know you guys hit it. Okay. All right. Let's come back over here. All right. Well, bring this back up. Gotta find a better way to do that. But, okay. So now here's the deal, folks. As you can see, business is becoming big. It is big. It's international. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is as big as Amazon was, if not larger, and so forth. And many, many, many people are involved. Many businesses are involved. It is major, major, major commerce. Okay? So people are pretty wrapped up in it. Well, now, before business took all of our time, and yes, business takes the majority of your waking hours for those of you playing at home. Well, that's what religion did. And religion said, hey, we have the answers, and work for us and you'll gain, treasures in heaven and so forth. So religion is getting a little nervous that business has so much influence over our daily lives. Okay? Hey, by the way, this is no slam against religion at all. At all. Okay? I'm just simply saying the environment is changing, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say, and this is just pure speculation on my part, you think about money and business and commerce and the economy and earning more than you think about going to heaven. I'm just going to speculate, okay? Well, now, back in the day before business was so big, you spent pretty much every waking hour thinking about going to heaven. Now, don't worry, it's going to switch again, okay? But this is what has folks getting a little nervous. And now, by the way, Anna says, but it is business. Oh, yeah, we're going to go there. We're going to go there, okay? Okay, so coming back over here, here's what religion is ultimately nervous about. For it was of the essence of trade to drag into a position of solitary prominence the acquisitive appetites, and toward those appetites. What? Religion doesn't want us to be greedy. That's what it ultimately comes down to, is religion is concerned that we will, at least for these readings that we're discussing, I don't speak for all religion, right? Not anymore, since I have that restraining order. Nevertheless, what religion is concerned about here is we are going to start using one another for personal gain, and there's no end to that desire. We are greedy. It's a question of avarice. And they are concerned that we will lose that ability to see each other as brothers and sisters rather than a means to get rich. So they're concerned about that. Well, now, there's 4 ways that different religions kind of took a different approach to business. And all of these ways still happen today. I guess I say that a lot, but I really want to drive this in. It's not a history class. Okay, one approach that some would take toward business is what would be called the ascetic approach. And the ascetic approach says, well, you know what? Business is something that must be overcome and we have to escape from because it's unrighteous and something that should be avoided. Now, I have here a picture of the Amish. They are not ascetic toward business, okay? They are excellent, excellent business folks, right? They are ascetic, though, toward technology that replaces labor. That's ultimately what drives the Amish lifestyle. They're fine with technology that enhances labor. We're going to talk more about that in a future lecture. But if there's a technology that replaces labor, that's what they tend to avoid. Now, in the case of us today, here are some modern day examples. Let's see, tickets to heaven. Zara, those were called indulgences. Yeah, the indulgences. Tickets to heaven. Yes, you know your history. Very good. Okay, here are some modern day examples of asceticism. Were you homeschooled? Homeschool is a way of saying, you know what, we're not going to buy into what the state provides. We're going to do it ourselves. Do you refuse to shop at Walmart or maybe with Amazon because of practices? Was there a time when your family said no internet at home? That wouldn't be for you guys. You've been digital natives from the time you were born. Your birth pictures are probably on Instagram somewhere. But when I was growing up and the internet was new, there was real concern around maybe the internet should not be in the home. That would be an ascetic approach. Or do you refuse to use products that use animal testing? That would be an example of an ascetic approach to products. If it involves this, I have nothing to do with it. I think animal testing is wrong. I think it's immoral. I think it's cruel. Therefore, anything that has to do with animal testing, I boycott. That's an ascetic approach to it. Luke says, I tend to lean toward thinking about heaven more than business and economic stuff. Yeah, could be old school. Yeah, it's all right. It's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah, good for you. So, bam. Remember, one of my philosophies that's in my syllabus is we're all on our own freaking journey. Don't judge my journey. I don't judge your journey because, hey, each the same. So, absolutely. Okay, let's keep going here. Then there's the indifferent approach. The indifferent approach is saying, listen, business and religion are 2 different things. I can exercise both and be a good person. There's no conflict, right? So, for example, this is a picture of Willard Marriott of Marriott Hotels. Okay. And I'm in the way a little bit there. Sorry, Willard. Willard Marriott Sr. He started Marriott Hotels, Marriott Resorts, and so forth He's a successful businessman. He's passed away since, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, the LDS Church. And he actually came up with the idea for his hotels when he was serving a mission in Washington, D.C. Okay, so he starts these hotels. And he is a faithful member of his church from beginning to end. He endured to the end, all right? Paid his tithings, went to church. Good man, good man. You go ahead and go to a Marriott hotel. Can you buy coffee there? Sure. Now, Mormons don't drink coffee, but you can buy coffee. Can you buy alcohol at a Marriott resort? Of course. Now, Mormons don't drink alcohol. He never drank alcohol. But you can buy it there. Can you order a porno on the television in your room? Probably. Trust me, that man never saw one. Okay? So, well, now, hold it. How can you be a good member of your religion and at the same time provide goods and services that are against your religion? The indifferent approach says, dude, those are two different things. One doesn't touch the other. In this case, I'm living the lifestyle that I feel is right for me and my soul and my salvation. And over here, I'm responding to the business need of my customers, and I'm providing the goods and services that they want. And it's legal. Now, let's see. It understood the difference between people and practices. Yes, Ken. Serenity, random question. Do you think Jehovah's Witnesses believe it's okay to be involved in business? Yes. I mean, here's the nice thing. You can't speak for Jehovah's Witnesses. You can only speak for the person. I'm telling you what Marriott did, but remember, we're all on our own journey. A different person from the same religion or a different religion may feel otherwise. We're not talking about how different religions approach things. We're talking about how individuals approach things. And as we said, we're all on our own journey. Okay. Let's see. Is it unholy to capitalize on what you consider to be a sin? That's the question, right? That's the question. How is it okay to financially capitalize on the sins of somebody else? Well, now, before we get all judgy, okay, let's see where this is expressed today. And let's see if, we got our next one, by the way. Here's some examples. Do you think violence is wrong, but you play video games? You're out there playing, Code of Honor and who knows what and so forth, and you're out there shooting people, killing. Are you out there playing Grand Theft Auto and shanking people and heading them over the head, and yet in your real life you're like, violence is wrong? Two different things is what somebody might say. Just because I carjack somebody in Grand Theft Auto and murder a prostitute, yes, you can do that in that game, doesn't mean that I'm going to do that in real life. Those are two different things. Okay. By the way, I play video games. Do you espouse environmental issues but still, add to the carbon footprint? So, for example, if you eat meat, and by the way, I eat meat, okay? However, the fact is, meat is actually really, really harmful to the environment. Raising beef very harmful. I won't go into details and so on and so forth, but it is. And so on one hand, it's like, well, now, how can you say that you believe in the environment and on the other hand, eat meat? And it's kind of like, you know what? Those are two separate things for me. It's like, okay. Let's see. Luke, I actually had a chat with a Jehovah's Witness last week in California. He's telling me about his business pursuits and believe in making a living. Very good. Very good. Oh, I like it. Kiana, on the other hand, been vegetarian her whole life. Okay? Absolutely. And vegetarian is much, much more healthful for the environment. But there are other ways in which it's like, hey, these are just two different things, right? Okay. By the way, we're not rational beings, in case you're curious. We make irrational decisions all the time. Then we have renunciation. Okay, here's the third approach that many take based on religious preferences. Something to be fought and reformed as part of some sort of ultimate religious movement or revolution. Okay, so for example, I'm going to cite once again the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Many of us are likely familiar with the history of this organization. Early on, is that right? Yeah. The church practiced something called the United Order. Okay. I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm just telling you the United Order was basically a form of communism. Everything was in common ownership, and people would pay their tithes and give to the bishop's storehouse and so forth in products, and your work was something that could be assigned out by elders and of the church and so on and so forth. And everything was common. It was for the community. It was a united order. It even had its own currency for a while, by the way. So ZCMI, which is no longer around today, was basically part of the United Order and was the first department store in the country. Let's see. So, oh gosh. Steak, mushrooms. You're going to make me hungry. Stop it. So this is an example of where the church said, hey, we need an economy, but the economy should exist to further the kingdom of heaven on earth. And so we are going to create our own economy, not one built toward avarice and greed, but one toward furthering the mission of the church. And so that's an example of renunciation. Well, we have it today. All right. So how are you on the gig economy? The gig economy is profoundly changing the way we do things. A lot of folks are like, hey, I don't work for corporations. I work for myself. That's it. Do you use Uber rather than a taxi or stay in Airbnb rather than a hotel? Do you live at home with your parents rather than buy a home or rent an apartment? Now, why do I think this is an example of renunciation? By the way, I have kids that live at home. The adult kids who live at home. The idea is, well, now the world tells you you need to go out and buy a home or rent an apartment or something like that because that's what you're supposed to do and the economy needs it, so on and so forth. And you're like, no. I'm going to do this the way I'm going to do it for my own personal economic ends. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to travel instead, things like that. It's basically saying, yes, I recognize I need to live somewhere, but no, I reject that society can tell me how that should work and how I should spend my money. Do you do gig work or work for yourself or part of your income? That's where you might be saying, hey, you know what? I don't work for the man. I don't work for corporations. I work for myself. Yes, I understand that it comes at a cost of this, that, and the other, but I'm not buying into this soulless corporate world where I have to work 80-hour weeks and so forth. I'd rather invest that over here. That is a form of renunciation regarding how we've done things in the past. Let's see. It's expensive today. Oh man, yeah. So I'll tell you what. Yeah, that went ahead. You know what? We're just going to go ahead and you did it. It's at the full 15. It's so expensive today. I don't know how some people can do it. I really don't. Because I know what I was like when I was just in college or just right out of college, and I wouldn't have been able to afford it. So yeah, take advantage of opportunities to live cheap and save. Okay, last one. The quiet approach. The quiet approach says, you know what? It's something that should be tolerated and where possible amended, a necessary ingredient in society, but it cannot be allowed to run amok. So the example I have here are liquor stores here in the state of Utah. All of the liquor stores are owned by the state. That's because the state says, you know what? Okay. I guess we need booze. We need booze. People want booze. We need it. But we don't want this to get out of hand. So we are going to control it. All right. We are going to control the distribution of alcohol. It's here. It's available. But we're going to make sure we have tabs on it. Does your family regulate TV, gaming, or internet time? Or, do you drive a hybrid or electric car? Does your family hide chocolate and cookies to be brought out only at certain times? I have this one up because my mother-in-law has chocolate and so forth, but she puts it away and only brings it out on Sundays. That's the quiet approach. Yes, you can have sweets, you can have chocolates and so on and so forth, but we're going to regulate it. The big thing here is marijuana now. Right? What's dabs? Anna, tell me what dabs is. Hey, lottery is a great example of this, by the way. I know, Zara, you mentioned that to something else, but it's a great example. Marijuana, right, is yes, it's available now, but we are going to strictly control the distribution. There we go. Okay. So, we've seen where we see these practices. All right. Next section. I told you it's and we're getting low on time. Okay. Folks, we're going to do something a little Department of. Okay. Yeah, oily wax form. Isn't that the truth? Okay, I'm going to change things up just a little bit because I need to stretch. And so that means it is time to juggle. We don't need this. Get down. Okay. So, everybody get up and stretch. My butt was getting sore. So, if you want to learn to juggle, that's what we're doing. If not, just get up and stretch and, do the shark dance or something. Okay, so the last time we met, we practiced tossing just one ball. Remember, you notice, my hands are not moving from the position very much because they've got a lot of work to do. That ball is going back and forth at eye level and so on. Okay? So we've got that. But now we're going to add a second ball. Now, what we need to do is we need to learn to toss these balls in rhythm. Okay? So couple things to bear in mind. We are going to throw them in a 1-2 rhythm. 1-2. All right? 1-2. Now, couple things to bear in mind. You're not going to throw them in 1-2. You're going to want to throw them at the same time. You're going to freak out that you have two balls now in the air. And so you're going to, okay? Actually, that worked better than it should have. So you really want to focus on 1-2, which means we are not even going to worry about catching them. We are going to throw them 1-2, and we're going to let them fall to the ground. And when they fall to the ground, they should fall in a 1-2. And by the way, yeah, Luke, those are pictures of me when I lived in Europe and I was hitchhiking around Europe at the age of 15 or 16, juggling around Europe. Yeah, I know, weird. Okay, so we throw them 1-2, and we want to hear them hit the ground in 1-2. So if I go 1-2, they should hit the ground. You know, sorry about that. You won't hear it if they do here. So just pretend like they're hitting the ground. It's 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Now, don't worry about catching them. I just want you to let them fall to the ground, because catching them, that's one more step, and we'll worry about that later. Now, by the way, you notice the first ball is on top and the second ball goes inside. So if we watch 1-2, 1-2, the ball goes under the first one. Now, this is actually really nice because I know you think the ball makes this perfect arc. It really doesn't make a perfect arc. If I were to exaggerate it, it goes out and then kind of falls, right? So there's this space in between that's really easy to work with. So that's why we throw it under to begin with. Now, you'll let them fall to the ground. You'll want to hear 1-2. But then what you want to do is then eventually catch them, and you want to hear that 1-2. And each time you throw, change the hand that you start with. So I'm starting with the right hand, and then I go to the left on the next. So first the right, and now I'm going to start with the left. And I'm going to drop it, right? Right hand, left hand. And that's all you're going to do. That's all you want to practice, is this 1-2 each time. It'll become so easy that you won't even have to think about it, okay? And it's not hard. You got two hands, you got two balls, you're fine. And so long as your hands don't move much from where they were, the ball should just fall in your hand. You know, I'm not even looking at the balls. I'm looking at you, the camera, right? Okay, so that is all we are going to do for today. That is your next lesson. Yes. Yeah, those are all pictures of me when I was off in Europe. I used to live in Europe, and I hitchhiked around one summer with my friend, and yeah, man, culture. I've actually been really lucky there, Luke. I've been around a lot. I love it. Okay. We're going to skip this poll. We're going to skip the poll because we're running out of time and I want to keep us going. So, we're going to talk about the Protestant work ethic. Oh, hold on. Let's come back over here. We're going to talk about the Protestant work ethic. At this point, religion catches up so much with business that now, instead of we're afraid of you engaging in business because you may not go to heaven, we have now changed it from you must engage in business in order to go to heaven. And we're going to see the logic of this. Okay? So just to kind of reiterate, we'll get this to work this time. You must engage in business in order to go to heaven. That is the idea of this. So let's play with it. All right? So, all right. First of all, let's make sure we understand something. We are talking about the Calvinists here. We're talking about 17th century Calvinists. These are Protestants, and they want to go to heaven. Why not? Right? All right. And these guys, they're always thinking of going to heaven. They got to figure out, how am I going to get into heaven? Because, it's a religious society. Well, every waking moment is dedicated to ensuring that they go into heaven, which means you need to make sure that since life is short on this planet, that no, never been to Spain, Luke. That's the one place. Many places I haven't been, but haven't done Spain yet. You're not on this earth very long, so you better make sure that every moment is spent going to heaven or working toward going to heaven. So, as it says here, leisure and enjoyment, but only serves to increase the glory of God. Hang on, glory of God according to the definite manifestations of his world, of his will. Okay, what does that mean? It means you're not here to play. You're not here to have fun. You are here to do as God commands as part of his divine will and get into heaven. It's not a party on earth. Okay? You're here to do as you're told so that you can get into heaven. All right, that's the mindset we're going to start with. All right? Well, now, if it's not a party here and you're only here to do as the Lord commands to get into heaven, that means no laziness, man. No laziness. As it says here, waste of time is thus the first and in principle the deadliest of sins. The span of human life is infinitely short and precious to make sure of one's own election, getting into heaven. Loss of time through sociability, idle talk, luxury, or even more sleep than is necessary for health, 6 to at most 8 hours, is worthy of absolute moral condemnation. Damn, right? I mean, jeez, that's pretty serious stuff. So, yeah, let's see. We use business to buy church clothes, travel to church donation. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I like it. So with this, laziness is out. Got to work your ass off. That's principle number 1. And it makes sense, right? Okay. The next principle is that your job isn't just a job. It's a divine calling. Check this out. What God demands is not labor in itself, but rational labor in a calling. In the Puritan concept of the calling, the emphasis is always placed on this methodical character of the worldly asceticism, not as with Luther on the acceptance of the lot which God is irretrievably, assigned to man. All right, what does this mean? It means that, there's work. Yeah, it's a job. I saw it in KSL. My uncle got me the job. It pays the bills, whatever. No. Your work is your opportunity to show your devotion to God, according to the Protestant work ethic, okay? You show your devotion to God through your work. And so it is a divine calling. Now, think about it, right? Do you get a pass if you're sick, right, Anna? Right? I mean, it's crazy. Think about it. It's one thing to call in sick when it's just a jab. But, when your salvation is hinging on whether or not you're late to work, this is heavy duty stuff, right? Okay. And then everybody has to work. Everyone. Even the wealthy shall not eat without working, for even though they do not need to labor to support their own needs, there is God's commandment which they, like the poor, must obey. For everyone without exception, God's providence has prepared a calling which he should profess and in which he should labor. It is a direct consequence of the divine scheme of things. Whew. Wow. Right? You got to work. Even if you don't need the money, you got to work because it's a calling. All right. The differentiation of men into classes and occupations established through historical development became for Luther, as we have seen, a direct result of the divine will. The perseverance of the individual in the place and within the limits God has assigned to him was a religious duty. Okay, what does that mean? It means division of labor isn't just an economic thing, it's a divine thing. Some people are in different jobs, and that's what you have been assigned by divine will. And everyone is important. The bread maker, the accountant, the laborer, the manager, the who knows what, right? But you should all approach them as your salvation depends on it. Okay. Next, third principle, an ascetic and humble lifestyle. The worldly Protestant asceticism acted powerfully against the spontaneous enjoyment of possessions. It restricted consumption, especially of luxuries. Okay, basically, it means don't be spending money on luxuries. And that includes vacation and downtime and experience, your ascetic lifestyle, okay? Luxuries, bling, that stuff is out, all right? We're not here to show off that we're keeping up with the Kardashians. We're here to show that we're worthy of heaven, okay? So you're not spending money on luxuries. Now, check this out. You're not lazy, so you're working your ass off. Your job is a calling, and you're not spending money on luxuries. Watch where this is going. By the way, wealth is thus bad ethically only insofar as it is a temptation to idleness and sinful enjoyment of life. And its acquisition is bad only when it is with the purpose of later living merrily and without care. Okay, check this out. This means it's okay to get rich. All right, it's fine. But not if you're planning on retiring and not living, not working, I mean. Living without care, living merrily and without care. No. There's no living merrily and without care in this community. You're going to work. So, you can get rich, but you're not going to spend it on luxury and you're not going to spend it on cruises. Okay. Here's the kicker. Don't spend it, invest it. Okay. And they just work until they die? Yeah. Yes, they do. Earning and investing as a performance of duty in a calling is not only morally permissible, but actually enjoined, meaning required. The parable of the servant who was rejected because he did not increase the talent which was entrusted to him seemed to say so directly. Okay, we need to play with this one for a moment, right? By the way, serenity. Are these beliefs still practiced? Serenity. These beliefs are still practiced today. We're going to see. This is not history. The poll that we skipped would have shown that we actually still buy into this, but I'm going to show you some real examples here in a moment, right? Would a bread maker be considered a luxury as you're not putting in a work by hand? Kiana, hold on to that for when we talk about Gandhi and Man and Machine. I know it's a lecture coming out in the future, but it talks directly to that. Okay, so let's check out this investment thing here, right? So, in case you don't know the parable, right? The parable of the talents and so forth. Here's the way this parable went down. It comes from the New Testament of the Bible. Here's the way it goes down. There's this dude, this rich man, the Lord, right? Rich dude. And he wants to go on vacation. I know I'm embellishing the parable, but it's all right. I get to do that. It's my class. So this rich dude wants to go on vacation, but he needs people to manage his money while he's off doing his thing, right? So he goes to his 3 servants, his 3 money managers, and says, hey, I'm going to give you each a portion of my money. One person, I'm going to give you 10 talents. Let's say $10 million. $10,000. You, I'm going to give you 5 talents, $5,000. Well, you, I'm going to give 1 talent, $1,000. Okay? I need you guys to take care of this while I'm away, right? And he pieces out. All right. So these folks are sitting there thinking, well, heck. So the guy with $10,000, 10 talents, he invests it and doubles it. He's now got 20. And the guy with $5,000, the 5 talents, he invests it as well and doubles it. Now he's got 10,000. The guy who was given 1 talent, though, the $1,000, he's like, ooh, I'm afraid of losing this, right? So I'm gonna just sit on it. I'm gonna put it under the mattress. Okay. So the Lord comes back, the rich dude comes back and says, all right, give me an accounting. And the guy that he gave 10 talents to says, I doubled your money. And the guy says, you're awesome, you're amazing, here's your reward. Great reward. Goes to the guy who doubled the 5 talents. And he says, I doubled your money. And he says, fantastic, here's your reward. The same reward, by the way, that the guy with 10,000 had, okay? So you're not rewarded more because of what job you did or what station you are in life. You're rewarded by what you do with that which has been given you. That's an important distinction. But then he goes to the guy with 1 talent. Says, all right, what do you do? And he says, well, you know what? I'm kind of freaked out. I didn't want to lose my job. So I just kind of sat on the money. Here's your talent. And the Lord loses his crap, right? He's like, dude, not cool. You know I reap where I do not sow. You should have invested this. That's not good. You're fired. You're out. So the Protestants said, well, you know what? This is proof from the scriptures that you are required to invest your money for gain. That's the way they looked at it, right? Yeah, Luke, we're going to come back to that. You know, the Protestants has adopted these ideas of religion in terms of working hard and so forth. We're going to talk about that. So, here's what it all comes down to, folks. When the limitation of consumption, meaning don't spend it, is combined with the release of acquisitive activity, meaning work your butt off, the inevitable practical result is obvious: accumulation of capital through ascetic compulsion to save. The restraints which were imposed upon the consumption of wealth naturally serve to increase it by making possible the productive investment of capital, meaning don't spend it, invest it. So Oh yeah, the feed went off there. I apologize. But here's the idea. It's pretty mathematically sound, not to mention religiously sound by the Protestant ethic. Don't be lazy. Work as though your role in heaven, your ticket to heaven depended on it. Don't spend it on luxuries and instead invest the money. You're going to get rich. I mean, the money will flow. And so now notice, I mean, to me, this just blows my mind that whereas before religion said, we're really nervous about this money stuff and business, now religion is saying, this business stuff is what's going to show that you're worthy of heaven. Right? I mean, to me, that's just like a massive. I love it. Okay? So let's come back. This stuff is around today. Now, if I had more time, oh gosh, where are we on time? Yeah. If I had more time, I'd give you even more examples. But I'm going to give you just one. All right. One of the quotes from the reading was, to wish to be poor it was often argued, the same as wishing to be unhealthy. It is objectionable as a glorification of the works and derogatory of the glory of God, especially begging. Begging on the part of one who is able to work is not only the sin of slothfulness, but a violation of the duty of brotherly love according to the apostle's own word. Begging when you can work. So first of all, you're lazy. You're not contributing to society, and you are rejecting the calling that God has given you to work. To these folks, begging was the worst. Well, now, check this out. This is a video. We can't watch the video, but you can Google it. But I have quotes from the video to talk through the key points here. The guy on the left is a panhandler, Mike Adams. He makes about $700 a week, working 2 to 3 hours a day. And his work is holding up a sign saying, traveling folk, hungry and broke. That's work for him. Well, we'll come back to that. But he's been doing this for about 20 years, okay? And the guy on the right is interviewing him. So check out this interaction. The interviewer says, what do you do when people tell you, why don't you get a job? Mike, I've got one. I'm a traveler. Interviewer, so you consider this your job? Mike, damn right. Interviewer, do you want to do anything else? Effing no. Okay, so first of all, Mike is asserting that he has a job. Okay? Panhandling, he asserts, is a job. Traveling. Okay. Next part of the interview. Would you say that you're a professional panhandler? Mike, working on it. Interviewer, you've got to improve? You've got to do more? Mike, well, yeah. I mean, don't you improve in your job? Yeah, I improve in mine. Okay, so he is making the absolute assertion that panhandling is a profession, it's a job, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, now, what I want you to do for this 2-minute timer that I'm going to set, I would like to ask you to and do something like, and I'll write it here. Yes, it's a job, and then reason that you think it's a job, and then do something like, no, it's not a job, and your reason. And I'd love to see both. I'd love to see you put one for each. I want you to argue, yes, it is a job, and give me a reason. And then I want you to say, no, it's not a job, and give me a reason. And then we'll explore these. Trust me, it'll be fascinating. Here we go. Okay, yeah, fascinating results. Very good. So let's start with the no's. Okay, let's start with a few of the no's. It's not a job. Do not agree that it's a job because he isn't giving anything for his labor. Nobody gets anything out of it. He's just receiving, right? Another no is, doesn't provide anything to anyone. Yep. Not really contributing to anyone but himself. These are the no's, and you've done a great job in looking at both sides. So, really, that's critical thinking. So I really commend you for looking at both sides. You'll be getting some kudo points for that. Let's see. Can't think of somewhere where exchange and so forth, but it's all right. But now here's where I am going to make the assertion that it's absolutely a job, right? Now, I'm just giving this point of view. First of all, let's look at the assertion that no value is provided. I can prove quantitatively that is not true, that he does provide value. How can I prove this? He makes about $700 a week. Well, now from whom? From people who give him money. No one is required to give him money. This is a free market, okay? No one is required to give him money, and yet they do. The only reason they would give him money is because he is providing a value to them. So the question is not, does he provide value? He does. The question should be, what is the value that he provides, and does everybody need that value? Well, obviously not everybody needs it, but here are some things. Let's say that the value is, I just want to feel good about myself today. I'm going to give you $1. I want to feel good about myself today. Maybe the value is, I believe the scriptures say that I should not judge and that I should offer people and let God judge, and I'm going to go ahead and support you. Another value could be, I just received a lot of help from someone and I was in a fix because, trust me, you're just a paycheck away from homelessness if you don't have a support network. And I want to pay it forward. That could be a value. I'll tell you one reason I one time gave it, I give to panhandlers fairly often. One time I saw a sign in downtown Salt Lake City that said, "Please do not give to panhandlers." And I immediately looked for a panhandler and gave him $1. And it was a her. Why? Because I don't want the government telling me how I should view my fellow man in economic homelessness and so on and so forth. I felt that this is me kind of showing a little bit of my libertarian side, right? It's not the government's job to do that. So it was an act of rebellion that I did. Okay, so they do provide a value. The second is, and if you watch this segment, you'll see that, and I think it was Kiara said, actually, there's a lot of skill that goes into it. There really is. Now, I'm not saying that it's a good skill and that it's being used in a genuine way. I don't think it is. I think probably 90% of all the money I've ever given has gone to other uses and so forth. But there's skill involved. Furthermore, here's the thing. But it's not hard work, right? Oh, yes, it is. Oh my gosh. I one time worked as a security guard when I was this big and working my way through college like you. And my job was to stand in one location for 12 hours in a museum. I have never experienced pain like that before in my life, and it's so mind-numbingly dull. It's hard work. Now, we could go on and so forth. By the way, is it a job? I don't know. What's a job? Is social influencing a job? I took a picture of my dinner. Here's a picture of my dinner. Is that a job? Yes, it is. Here's the thing. Different generations and different mindsets around the Protestant work ethic have different ideas toward what is work and what is value and what is a contribution to society. Now, to bring this home, as I said before in our first lecture, GoFundMe is digital panhandling. That's all it is. There's no difference in my mind between GoFundMe and panhandling. It's just a different medium. In this medium, you're using a website page. In this medium, you're using a cardboard sign. And besides, if you say, well, I don't know what they're going to do with the money, Salt Lake Community College doesn't know what I'm going to do with the money they give me. What business is it of the person buying the service on what they're going to do with the money? It's none of my business what you do with the money that you earn. Here's my final point. So yeah, when I was 16 years old, I hitchhiked and juggled my way through Europe with my best friend. We juggled on the streets for food. We starved. Over there, it's called busking, and it's illegal. We were rousted a few times. Here, it's called street performing panhandling. I panhandled around Europe for a whole summer. Now, you're looking at that and thinking, oh, that's a cool ass thing. Man, I wish I could do that when I was 16 years old. That's really something. Wow. Huh. What's the difference between what I did and what Mike did with his sign? Well, I have a haircut and I shaved. Is that it? Just saying. Just saying. By the way, I think most panhandlers can get a job. just to put it all out there and so forth. I give to a lot of different charities that help the homeless because I don't know how to evaluate who is deserving of it or not. I don't know. And so while I still do give $1 here and there and so forth, I give more to the charities and say, you guys worry about it. All right. So just a thought. Here's a couple of quotes from two very wise people. Herman Melville, this is from Moby Dick. Toil is man's allotment. Toil of brain or toil of hands, or a grief that's more than either, the grief and sin of idleness. Or as I like to tell people, the only thing worse than having a job is not having a job. And trust me, not having a job hurts. Okay. Hey, you know what? We actually have one more section on economic social revolution, but I'm going to tell you, we're running out of time. And I don't know about you, but my brain is full. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link to another live stream or video and so forth that I did on the social revolution and so forth, so that you can watch it a little bit later, get the pieces of the reading that you need and so forth, and get the guidance that you need when your brain is a little more fresh. Because like I say, meal done. Okay, if that's all right with you. And besides, I think we only have like 15 minutes left, 20 minutes left, and that's not enough time to really do this justice. And so, yeah, we're going to wrap this up. I'll send you some information so that you'll be well taken care of on that very last reading. And of course, I'm going to be sticking around and for any questions and so forth. As usual, send me an email and say here. And I'm going to give you some extra points because even after we hit the 15, you guys were still rocking and rolling. So you're going to get some extra points. So email me with here. Email me so I know you're here, and I will I'll get you some points because I appreciate the engagement. And Anna, you need a Zoom meeting, so I am going to go ahead and I'll set that up, and then what I will do is email you the Zoom link, okay? So we'll take care of that for you. Oh yeah, email me through Canvas. Absolutely, Serenity. That's all you need to do. Email me through Canvas, and you'll be good to go there. Pulling up the Zoom there. There we go. You bet. And I'm going to go ahead and do. Okay, we'll join with that. Yes, you have a great day too, everyone. And let's see here. I'm going to come here to... Nope. Participants. Copy invite link, so we'll be good. Any questions at all? Looks like we're looking good. Okay, everyone has dropped off, or at least most have, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Anna, I'll be sending you an email here shortly, and we'll be all set. So until we talk again, have a fantastic day.